afternoon. I'm very excited to be presenting this information to everybody. Exercise and living an active lifestyle is something that has been a very important part of my life, so I'm, as I said, very excited to be sharing my passion and my knowledge for this field with you guys. So the title of today's presentation is Get Moving Today. So we're going to spend the next 30 to 45 minutes discussing how we can make exercise more convenient and more accessible to us on a day-to-day life. So how can we get in more physical activity without necessarily having to go to the gym? And we're also going to discuss a lot about why exercise is so important for our body, not only on a physical level, but on a mental and emotional, level as well. So as I said, the focus of this presentation is what I can do to offer you, information I can offer you to find ways to make physical activity part of your daily routine again. So we as a society have become very sedentary. Society and technology has evolved greatly over the past 100 years or so. So whereas we used to do a lot of physical activity as a natural part of our day, like walking to the grocery store, walking to work, gardening for our food, we don't necessarily do any of that anymore. So a lot of the physical activity that was kind of inherent in our everyday lives is gone. So we have to be more conscientious about exercising during the day because it's not necessarily built into our everyday lives. And just think, ask yourself, how many remote controls do you have in your household? I have a lot. I have one for my television. I got one for my fan. I even have one for my kids' baby monitor. Think too, how long is your commute to work? We're not walking, a mile or 2 miles to work anymore. You might have a 30-minute commute or a 60-minute commute. We might have an extra 2 hours in our day where we're spent sitting instead of standing and walking. So that's what we're going to kind of work through over the course of this webinar is, first of all, we're going to talk about how understanding the benefits of physical activity. So we all know that exercise can make us healthier on a physical level, but we're also going to discuss how exercise is so important for us on a mental and emotional level as well. We'll talk about the recommendations for physical activity, so how much is enough, how much should we even get over the course of a week. And then we'll also talk about some barriers of physical activity. So what are some obstacles that you face to being active? Is it time? Is it money? Is it you don't enjoy exercise? And then we're also going to discuss solutions to work through those obstacles that you face. Then lastly, how can we include more physical activity into your daily routine, like while you're at work and while you're at home and while you're traveling, without necessarily having to go to the gym? So there's nothing wrong with going to the gym. I love going to the gym. I love running on the treadmill. I love going to fitness classes, but it's not always going to be convenient to everybody else, given their schedules. So if you're thinking to yourself, well, the reason I'm not active is because I just don't have the time or the energy, when I get home from work to pack my gym bag and, leave my family for another hour and a half and go to the gym and, run on the treadmill. That's just not for me. Well, then I'm really glad you're at this webinar today because we're going to explore ways that you can still get physical activity in your daily lives without necessarily having to use the gym as an option. So let's talk about the benefits of physical activity. So how does exercise help us on a physical level, a mental level, and emotional level? So exercise can improve your energy level. So right about mid-afternoon or late morning, I think a lot of us start to feel very sluggish. So what do? Sometimes we go to the vending machine, grab a caffeinated drink, go get some coffee. But what that does is it gets our energy level up for maybe 10, 15 minutes, but then we crash right away. What a quick 10-minute walk outside in the fresh air, that exercise is going to get those endorphins going. That fresh air is going to help to refocus us, and it's going to improve our energy level. People who live an active lifestyle tend to have a higher energy level throughout the course of their day. But being active can also help with weight loss. So in order to lose 1 pound of weight a week, we have to be in a deficit of about 3,500 calories over the course of the week. So this is about 500 calories a day that we either have to eat less of or burn off more. or a combination of exercise and eating less. So exercise can help us to create that calorie deficit so that we can lose weight. In the same respect, being active can help us to maintain our weight. So obviously we never want to spend the rest of our lives in a calorie deficit, because that means we're also in an energy deficit. You know, for a period of time so we can lose weight, it can be helpful, but at some point we need to bring those calories in versus calories out back to equilibrium. And by exercising, that can help us to maintain our weight once we get to a weight that we are happy with. Being active can help to increase our muscle tone. So quick fact, in order for our body to maintain muscle mass, it has to utilize more energy to maintain that muscle mass than it does to maintain that fat mass. So essentially, the more muscle mass you have in your body, the higher your metabolism. So people who have a lot of muscle mass from being active and strength training become kind of like a calorie burning machine. And that higher amount of muscle mass has a huge effect in being able to maintain a healthy weight over the course of our lives. And just like exercise is great for our muscles, it's also great for our bones. As we age, we become at risk of developing, arthritis and osteoporosis, both of which are conditions that affect our bones and joints. When we do weight-bearing activities like strength training or walking, that helps to build our bone density and make our bones stronger, therefore helping to prevent some of those conditions later on in life. So now we've talked a lot about how exercise is important for us on a physical level, but what about on a mental level? What about an emotional level? Exercise, or people who live an active lifestyle, studies have shown that they actually have an improved cognitive function. They can focus their attention better, they have a higher mental processing speed, and they tend to be better at multitasking. From my personal experience, I am a morning exerciser. I like to get up in the morning, 6 a.m., go for a jog outside by myself, go to the gym. It's just how I like to start my day. But the most efficient and effective and productive work that I put out is always those first 3 to 4 hours of the morning. And I guarantee that a lot of it has to do because it is right after when I've exercised. My energy level's up. My attention is refocused. So a lot of studies are coming out in how exercise can really have a huge impact on us on a cognitive level. But also, it can affect our mood in a positive way. There is a chemical in our brain called serotonin. That word might be familiar to many of you. Serotonin is that brain chemical that helps to regulate our mood. What we do know is higher levels of serotonin is associated with an elevated mood, and lower levels of serotonin associated with symptoms of depression. Many studies show that aerobic exercise can actually increase these levels of serotonin for a lot of people. Thus, higher serotonin levels, your mood is better. One of my favorite benefits of physical activity is how it can help us manage our stress. So let's take a quick time out and let me give you a quick lesson in stress management just so you can understand how being active can help us to manage our stress all the way down to a physiological level. So stress is something, or the stress response is something that's innate in humans. It has been for millions of years. So when we get stressed out, we exhibit what's called the fight or flight response, which means our body builds with these endorphins and cortisol to give us the extra energy we need to fight, to move, to run. So as this response is innate in humans, typically we get the fight or flight response because we were being chased by a woolly mammoth. We get stressed out, that extra energy, that fight or flight response would give us the extra energy we needed to move, to fight, to run. The problem is that our bodies have that same exact stress response now, but our bodies can't figure out if we're being chased by a woolly mammoth or our hard drive in our computer just crashed. Your body's going to have the same stress response. So what happens is when the hard drive in our computer just crashes, we don't get up and start running circles around the office. I mean, maybe you do, but I guarantee you most of us don't. We sit there and we clench our teeth and we get angry and we get stressed out. So that cortisol builds up in our bloodstream, and that buildup of cortisol is what causes that racing heart that you feel, those stress headaches, those stress stomach aches, that physical tension in your neck and your shoulders and your back. And after a while, when you have stress that's gone unmanaged, that cortisol just stays elevated in our bloodstream, and that starts to affect our immune system, making us more susceptible to all the viruses and bacteria, especially with the type of winter we just had. But when we are active, what that physical activity does is it metabolizes all that cortisol out of your system. So the worst thing that you can do when you're stressed out is to sit, because it's only going to make the stress response worse. The best thing you can do is get up, take a 10-minute walk, take a 15-minute walk, get that cortisol out of your bloodstream. So as you can see, being active is important for us to manage stress all the way down to a physiological level. And lastly, being active is really important to help us reduce health risks and manage a number of chronic conditions. Right now, heart disease and stroke are two of the leading causes of death in the U.S. And exercise can actually help to reduce our risk of heart disease. So for instance, two of the major risk factors for developing heart disease are high blood pressure and abnormal cholesterol levels. Regular physical activity can actually lower your blood pressure and improve your cholesterol levels, thus reducing your risk for cardiovascular disease. Being active can also reduce your risk of type 2 diabetes by helping to control your blood glucose levels. Being active has also been known to reduce your risk of some types of cancer, particularly colon and breast cancer. So overall, as you can see, being active has a huge impact on our quality of life. You know, it helps us on a physical level, it helps us on a mental level, it helps us on an emotional level. It's overall a really, really important and key point to our health. So next the question is, okay, well now hopefully I've convinced you that exercise is important in your day, but so now you might be asking, well, how much physical activity do I even need? Well, for important health benefits, the guidelines are listed below. Adults need, on average, about 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity over the course of the week, which is about 2.5 hours, plus 2 or more days a week of strength training. The reason we say over the course of the week is because we found it doesn't matter if you have, say Monday you only have time to do a 30-minute walk, and let's say Tuesday, 8 minutes there, 10 minutes there, maybe Friday you do a full 60 minutes in a row. Even if you'd only have time for one 10 to 15-minute bout of physical activity, it still is very beneficial to your overall health. So the goal is to have that number, 150 minutes, over the course of the week. Now, you don't want to just do 150 minutes on Saturday because you're going to be incredibly sore, and you do need it spread out to some extent to get those health benefits. So when I say moderate intensity activity, think of like a brisk walk that breaks the sweat. Now, let's say you're somebody that likes a higher impact activity, like running. So you can take that 150 minutes down to 75 minutes if you're going to do vigorous intensity aerobic activity, and then plus those 2 or more days of strength training. Or you can do an equivalent mix of moderate and vigorous intensity activity plus that strength training. So to talk a little bit more about this intensity level, moderate versus vigorous activity, think of moderate activity as something that just, slightly raises your heart rate and causes sweating, like a brisk walk, like walking up 2 flights of stairs, taking the stairs instead of the elevator at work. Or vigorous activity is something that's going to cause you to breathe hard and increase your heart rate, like a hard game of tennis, or, a jog, or being on the elliptical at a higher resistance. Strength training, the recommendation, as you saw on the last slide, 2 or more days a week. Exercises, 8 to 12 repetitions of exercise that target all our major muscle groups. Think your back, your stomach, your legs, your arms, your chest, your abdomen. And always remember to talk to your healthcare provider before you start any sort of physical activity. If you have, a current condition that may be a concern, you do want to ask your doctor just to make sure you're taking necessary precautions. So, what are some of the reasons that people aren't active? What are some of the reasons we might have for not being active? So as you can see on the top, this stat, less than half, 48% of all adults are meeting the recommended physical activity guidelines. So here are some of the most common reasons for not exercising. Top 10 reasons. First one, which is the one I hear the most, is lack of time. People just don't have the time, which I get it. We have very busy schedules. You know, let's say you have a half an hour commute to work. You only get, you know, a 30, 45-minute lunch break. When you get home, you got to pick up your kids. You got, you know, your son has basketball practice. Your wife has a, you know, volunteer, you know, meeting at church. Or perhaps, and you come home and you just want to be with your family and you think, how am I going to get to the gym and back, you know, with that? Well, I'm glad you're at this presentation day, like I said a couple minutes ago, because we're going to work through that barrier of lack of time, you know, work through how we can actually incorporate, you know, 3 or 4 10-minute bouts of physical activity into our day without having to necessarily take that 1 to 2 hours out of our daily lives to go to the gym and still have important health benefits. We'll learn about how to make exercise more convenient. We're going to talk about some options for exercising at home and for exercising while we're at work and even exercising while we're traveling. Lack of self-motivation. I find that most people know they have to exercise. Most people know what they need to do. I think the self-motivation is where a lot of us struggle. And I wish as a health coach I could be like a fairy godmother and just grant everybody the self-motivation. But I can't. What I can do, or what we can do as health coaches, is help provide you with the support that you need to find that motivation within yourself. So there is no right or wrong reason to be motivated to exercise. Anything goes. Perhaps you're motivated by appearance. Perhaps you're motivated because you want to lower your blood pressure. Perhaps you just don't have a lot of energy and you want to pick up your energy level. You know, that's fine. But you just have to look deep within yourself and decide what is going to motivate you. So I'll tell you one of my favorite stories of self-motivation. Right out of college, I worked as a full-time personal trainer. And every time somebody came into my office ready to personal train, I would always ask them, the first question I would always ask them is, why are you here? And I heard all sorts of reasons under the sun. I heard, well, my wife is making me come. You know, I'm just recovering from knee surgery and I want to strengthen my legs. You know, everybody had a different reason that worked for them. But this one guy really stood out in my mind. He came into my office and he needed to lose over 100 pounds. He was at a high risk for cardiovascular disease. And so I asked him, I said, why are you here? And at the time, his daughters were 6 and 8 years old. And he said that the other week, his daughters had asked him how long that he was going to live. And he said that he realized at that moment that he had a responsibility to his daughters to keep himself healthy, that he wanted to be there in 15, 20 years to walk his daughters down the aisle. So for him, the responsibility he felt to his children was his motivation to be in the gym at that day. So ask yourself, what is going to motivate you to get up and get moving and improve your health? Another common reason is weather, too hot, too cold. I know a little something about this, considering I live in Grand Rapids, Michigan. If you're not familiar with Grand Rapids, I am about 20, 30 minutes from Lake Michigan, so we get that lake effect snow. By early March, we had almost 115, 120 inches of snow already. So there were like 2 weeks in January where you literally, like every business closed down and you literally couldn't be on the roads. So there was no way I was going to drive to the gym in those treacherous conditions. And, you know, you couldn't go outside without your lungs feeling like they were going to freeze shut. So this was a really good time where my backup options of having my home workout DVDs came in really handy. Because I grabbed one of my fitness DVDs every morning, you know, popped it in my laptop, went in the basement, easy, 60-minute workout. Didn't have to take the extra time to drive anywhere, you know, didn't have to battle the cold or anything. Another reason that people give for not exercising is maybe they just find it boring, and I get that. If you don't like walking on a treadmill, then don't walk on a treadmill for exercise because you're not going to be successful at it. Exercise should not feel like a burden. You should not dread doing it. And if you're dreading exercise and then you haven't found the form of exercise that works for you. So regardless of what you hear on the television, the internet, whether, you know, dance fitness is better than walking, is better than running, is better than cycling, you know, yada, yada, yada. The best form of exercise is going to be whatever gets your heart rate up and whatever you enjoy doing. that's what you're going to be the most successful at. In our family, like I said, I love going to the gym, but my husband does not. I couldn't get him to the gym if I paid him to come to the gym. Does not like to go for a run, anything. But this past weekend, Memorial Day weekend, it was beautiful here in Michigan. No problem putting our 30-pound toddler on his back and hiking for 3 miles. But that's a form of exercise that he loves to do, and that's what keeps him active. So whether it's a nature walk, whether it's biking, whether it is going to a Zumba class, you need to find a form of exercise that you enjoy doing and that you look forward to doing, and that will help you be successful at maintaining your program. Lack of confidence, your inability to set goals and monitor progress, lack of encouragement or support, those are all things that health coaches can help you with. We can provide you with that accountability, that month-to-month support. We can help you set goals that are realistic and measurable and achievable, and help you monitor your progress over the course of time. You know, we can be your buddy, we can be your partner. We're going to be your cheering section as you go through your exercise journey. And lastly, you know, sometimes people don't exercise because they have this fear of being injured. Perhaps you're just recovering from an injury, or you exercised in the past and you got injured and now you're nervous about going back. I've been in this situation. Back in my early 20s, I had a very bad back injury, and it resulted in me being on crutches for about 2.5 years. It took like 6 to 7 years to recover. So I went from running half marathons to barely being able to walk, run 15 minutes. So I can tell you I had that fear of being injured. So the most important thing to remember is when you are recovering from injury or have been injured in the past, A, check with your doctor to make sure you're taking the necessary precautions, but B, start out slow, start out easy, slowly work your body back into it to give your muscles and your bones a chance to readapt. So how do we make exercise part of our daily routine? You know, we've talked about all these barriers, and one way to work through the barrier of, you know, the inconvenience and, you know, the time is by finding ways to make them part of our daily, to make physical activity a part of our daily lives again like it used to be. So we've talked about identifying activities that you enjoy. You know, we don't necessarily need to go to a gym. You don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, pack your gym bag, you know, go to your area rec center and, you know, jump on the treadmill for an hour just to get exercise in. We can make activity part of our daily lives without having to use that as an option. Now, don't get me wrong, that can be an option, but the focus of this presentation is helping people find other options rather than that. But first, you also have to identify periods in your day with extra time. I guarantee if I had each one of you sit down and go through your hourly, or you go through every hour of the day, like, you know, tomorrow, and write down what you did, I guarantee you're going to find a lot of time that you were surfing your iPhone, you're not even realizing it, you know, zoning out to the television for a couple hours at night. You know, we have a lot of time during our day that we waste. So part of the way to manage, you know, if time is one of your barriers, is you're going to need to work on your time management skills. So identify those periods during the day where you might not have realized you were hanging out watching television for 2 hours, and take a half an hour and go for a walk. Or maybe there is a 10-minute coffee break in the morning where you normally just sip coffee and, you know, stand at the coffee station. Do the same thing in the afternoon. Can you walk around the building with a friend instead to get your energy level up? Have to be creative about this. But you also have to plan it and you have to schedule it. Because a physical activity is not an inherent part of our lives anymore, we have to be conscientious about building it into our daily lives. So look at your week. On Sunday, sit down and look at your calendar. When can you exercise this week? My schedule changes week to week. I have a kid. I have extracurricular activities. Every week is different. So I know on Sunday night I'm going to look at my calendar and see when I can exercise. Maybe last week I was able to exercise Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, but maybe this week I have to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe I can make it to the gym, maybe I can't. Maybe one day I'm going to do a 30-minute walk at lunch. Next day I'm going to get up at 6 in the morning and go for a jog outside. Maybe Saturday morning I'm going to hit up a yoga class at the Y. But I plan out 1 week in advance what I'm going to do for exercise, and then I keep it in my schedule, just like a doctor's appointment. Because I guarantee if you wake up on Monday morning and say, yeah, I'm going to exercise 4 times this week for 30 minutes, but you have no idea how you're going to do it, you haven't planned anything, before you know it, Friday's going to roll around and you haven't done anything. You have to plan it and you have to schedule it. Now let's say those large chunks of time are not something that is applicable with your schedule. So let's look at your daily work schedule. Where can you schedule 10 minutes, 5 minutes at a time into your daily work schedule? And that's what we're actually going to talk about in the next slide. Because remember, in 2 slides. So remember, even 10 to 15 minutes or a bunch of 2 to 3 minutes bouts of exercise over the course of the day can still add up to 30 minutes or 150 minutes over the week, and you can still get health benefits from that. So let's talk about how to fit physical activity in at home, at work, and while we're traveling. At home, exercise DVDs, television, internet. Technology is a great thing. As I said a couple slides ago, this came in very handy for me as Grand Rapids had a very brutal winter. I did a lot of home workout DVDs. I love fitness classes, but in no way did I want to drive to the gym. Keep a bunch of fitness DVDs on hand, or perhaps even if it's not bad weather, you just like fitness classes but you don't have the time or the money to go, check out your local library. A lot of them have free fitness DVDs you can rent out, boot camp, kickboxing, strength training. You have an instructor leading you through that full 45-minute, 60-minute workout. So this could be a good option for you to do at home. Interactive video games, Wii, Xbox Connect. Great ways to get your kids active too. So one question I get from people all the time is, how do I get my kids more active? In the same respect, another barrier that people face to being active is they don't want to leave their families in the evenings when they've been working all day. I get that. I work all day too. But think about it this way. Your kids need to be active just as much as you do. We might be the first generation that actually outlives our children. So kids are developing diabetes at an astronomical rate. Our kids are sedentary. Our kids aren't eating very healthy. So they need to be active just as much as you do. So incorporate their physical activity into your physical activity routine. Play the video games with them. Take advantage of the outdoors. Go for a family walk at night. Go for a family bike ride. Go for a hike on the weekends. For all of us in the Midwest, we know we only have about 3 to maybe 4 months out of the year that we can actually spend outdoors doing this stuff. So take advantage of that. Enjoy the fresh air. Perhaps you can find a buddy in your neighborhood that you can walk with every morning before work that can help to support you and that accountability. Housework, yard work, gardening, that's all physical activity. That's going to get your heart rate up. That's going to get you moving. Walking your dog. I find people that have dogs are much more likely to be active. We have a lab. She's about 106 pounds. She's very hyper, and if we do not walk her every morning, she literally will tear up our house. So she keeps us active because if we didn't have her, we wouldn't be walking an extra 30 minutes every single day. So maybe a family walk with your dog at night. Recruit a partner for support, like that friend in the neighborhood that you can walk with, or perhaps your spouse if they want to start an exercise program too. But one of the best benefits of physical activity at home is that you can really get the whole family involved. There's a lot of great quality time you can have by going to the park with your kids and playing a game of Frisbee. Why not kill 2 birds with 1 stone? Get a workout in for yourself, get your kids active, and spend some great quality time together at the same time. So how do we fit in physical activity at work? So this is going to be for those folks that don't necessarily want to take or have the ability to take those extra, 30, 45-minute, 60-minute, blocks of time during the week. And you might need to just build it in over the course of your day, minutes here and there. So one thing you can do is keep sneakers at your desk. So a lot of us might have to wear, heels or steel-toed boots to work, neither of which are very good options for walking. So keep a pair of shoes at your desk, tennis shoes. 3 days a week, perhaps there's a walking club, put on your tennis shoes, walk on your lunch break. Late afternoon, you're feeling sluggish, instead of going to the coffee machine, you got your tennis shoes right there, go for a quick walk around the building, 15 minutes. Take the stairs instead of the elevators. Say you have to go upstairs to the second floor or third floor a couple times a day. Take the stairs. That's going to take you an extra 2 to 3 minutes every time. Let's say you do that 3 times a day. There's 10 minutes right there. There's a 1 10-minute bout. Try walking breaks instead of coffee breaks. You know, that walking is going to get your energy level up because it's going to get those endorphins going, and that'll keep your energy level up more than that caffeine from the coffee will. So if you normally have a morning coffee break or an afternoon coffee break and you just hang out at the machine and drink coffee, why not grab a buddy and just go for a walk, move around the building. Have a walking meeting. So say you have a standing meeting every Tuesday with your coworker. You don't necessarily have to take notes. You don't need your computer. You typically just sit in a conference room and, you know, chat, talk about business or whatnot. Well, if you don't need to write anything down and you don't need your computer, why not take that meeting for a walk? Walk and talk for 45 minutes. Got your workout in, got your meeting in all at the same time. And remember, you think better when you're active. Join walking clubs or fitness classes. A lot of companies have informal walking clubs where it's just a group of employees that meet at noon, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they just walk together on their lunch break. So check out your company, see if they have one of those. And if not, maybe it's something you can bring to HR and get started on your own. Walk around the perimeter of the building. Park farther away. So let's say you park your car in the complete opposite end of the building than the door you have to go in. Well, that might take you an extra 3 minutes to get in and then 3 minutes to leave. There's about 6 minutes there. Then go back to taking the stairs instead of an elevator. You got about 10 minutes there. Let's say you took a walking break 1 time instead of a coffee break, about 10 minutes there. It's adding up. You know, we've already got about 30 minutes in, and we didn't have to pack our bag and go to the gym. We were just able to add it into our day. Stretch at your desk. Good rule of thumb is try not to stay sitting for more than 30 or 60 minutes at a time. What happens is when we sit for long periods of time, our posture, you know, we kind of get lazy with our posture. We start slouching in our chair. We get that physical tension in our neck and our back. So stand up at the top of every hour, you know, just for a couple minutes. You know, do a couple torso twists, take that neck side to side, just loosen up. That's going to help you to refocus your attention, and it's also your attention is also going to help you to, you know, not develop so much of that physical tension that comes from sitting in the same stationary position all day. Take part in an exercise program or league at work. A lot of companies during the summer have softball leagues, volleyball leagues. A great way to get to know your coworkers and be active at the same time. And lastly, stand at your workstation when possible. About 1.5 years ago, I went to a standing desk. And I can say it has just been amazing. I used to have this physical tension in my neck and my back that would creep up every day. It drove me crazy. Get that headache right in the back of your head. I moved to a standing desk. That went away within a week. It was amazing. When we stand versus sit, we can burn about an extra 20 to 50 calories an hour. You burn more calories, you keep your energy level up, but you also can get rid of some of that physical tension. So see if a standing workstation is possible. If not, be creative. Every time you have to be in a conference call, well, why not put your headset on and just stand up at your desk? You know, it's not going to hurt, you know, and you're going to burn some extra calories, and that's going to pick your energy level up a little bit too. And the last one is how do we fit physical activity in while traveling? So I do travel a lot for my position, and so I do have to be creative about staying active. Always look for a hotel room that has a fitness center, so that way I have an option right there and then, regardless of the type of weather it is outside or regardless of the type of area I'm in, I have that as an option. I travel with my exercise videos so that I can just do my workout DVD right in my hotel room. Sometimes I'll look for local parks that have walking or jogging trails. So after, you know, work that day, you can go out for a walk or a jog, or maybe even before work, you know, explore the city through walking. Or if you're a big fan of swimming, you know, look for a hotel that has a pool, so you could either swim laps or perhaps you could just do some exercise in the hotel pool. So how to get started? First, we got to determine what your goal is. Your goal should be specific, it should be measurable, achievable, realistic, time-bound. So perhaps you're very sedentary now and you're not doing anything. So a good goal for you may be next week you're going to try for just 50 minutes, and maybe the week after that, 60 minutes. Keeping that 150 minutes as a goal in mind over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. So plan your goal, and then make a plan. How are you going to fit physical activity into your day? Are you going to do some of those options that we talked about, like at work, standing, walking breaks, walking meetings, or you can actually try to do some exercise with your family in the evenings, a family bike ride, a family walk with your dog at night. Find somebody to hold you accountable to, whether it's that coworker or that informal walking club during the days, whether it's that neighbor that's going to jog with you a couple times a week, or your spouse that's going to help hold you accountable, or perhaps your health coach that's going to help hold you accountable by calling you every month and seeing how you're doing and help to encourage you and congratulate you when you've met your goals. But write out your goal and put it somewhere that you're going to see every single day. On your computer, on your phone, somewhere on your refrigerator, somewhere you're going to look at every day and it's going to remind you about it. Make sure you track it too, monitor your progress. Pedometers are great ways to keep track daily of how many steps you're taking. The goal is 10,000 steps a day, so that can, by using a pedometer, that will help you mark your progress and work towards that goal. You can also record your activity in a journal and then record your mood afterwards. How is it making you feel? Is your energy level up? Are you happier? If you're looking to lose weight, make sure you could take pre and post test fitness measurements, like measure your weight, measure inches, but even measure how many steps you were taking per day when you started versus how many you're taking per day now. There's also physical activity trackers available on the myactivehealth.com website. This is a great one-stop shop for health information. So oftentimes when we are looking for health info, the first place we go is the internet. And you can get all sorts of crazy stuff pop up on the internet when you type something in the search engine. So this is somewhere where you can go to get research, credentialed, trustworthy, real health info. We've got physical activity trackers on there, nutrition trackers, videos, recipes, webinars, and so much more. So I highly encourage you to take advantage of this website and visit today and use a lot of the tools that we have available.